Hello everyone. Good evening to all. I, Nikhil Dustaria, serving as a research officer at International Water Management Institute. Welcome you all for the session on Farmer-centric Agrivoltaics in India, which is being co-organized by BIOF, hosted by BIOF and the EMI Data Program. So when we are here for this India Land and Development Conference, actually the topic of agrivoltaics makes much more sense, I would say, because it relates to both the things, land as well as development. No doubt, it's quite an emerging theme in India where nothing is yet developed at a policy level so far, but it's developing. So many organizations are piloting this different projects in different locations in India. So we'll be discussing the different models which are being tested by two of our organizations, BIOF and EMI Data Program, and then we'll have a panel discussion to get some more detailed view about how this technology is evolving in India. So I'll request Vaman Kulkarni from BIOF for the opening remarks, who is also chairing the session.
Okay, good evening all. Thank you ILDC for this opportunity and IWMI and other partners. So without investing time, we are directly switched to the presentation where BIOF has implemented this project. So we'll go through the different models and different systems which have been installed as a agri-PV system in the Maharashtra, Telangana and Karnataka. So as everybody knows, BIOF is working in 17 states of India for rural development through different initiatives, water-centric initiatives, crop-based livelihoods and climate action program, livestock development program. So our core theme is reaching poor and tribal community, developing sustainable livelihood models, region-specific models, and different climate action programs. So these are our different programs and outreach, 17 states, 48 districts, 61 aspirational districts. This is now for this purpose we are here to discuss about the agri-PV system. So for the audience, everybody knows what is agrivoltaics. So it's a dual use of land and for solar energy production and agriculture, optimize land productivity and resource efficiency. It is basically to support climate resilience, water saving, farm income diversification, and why it is necessary? Because considering the net zero target and zero emission targets, we are having a pressure on land. So this gives a very good solution to optimize the land use for productivity enhancement and to give the climate action solution in the form of solar energy application, which is the need of ours, and climate risk increasing with the heat, drought and seasons, everybody knows about it. And the policy momentum, falling PVC cost, this is creating opportunity for developing agri-PV projects in different regions. So this is the context why it is necessary. So presently in a global level, if we can see, already it has been reached 2.2 terawatt capacity in 2024. So now this is a ideal time to look after this agri-PV as a solution to use land for energy, for climate action, for water conservation, for microclimate development. So there are multiple ways, multiple use we can say for developing agri-PV system as a model. This is a data set why it is necessary. So more than 20 countries now include agri-voltaics as a national energy or agriculture strategies. Now we are also moving on the same lines. After developing different models, testing different models and having very key findings, we can also frame a policy framework for agrivoltaics in India also. And our major target is to have a 500 gigawatt renewable energy by 2030. So if we can see, this huge proportion of land is required, and that is again a big problem in country like India. So there we can see agri-PV as an option because we can use land and energy from the same piece of land. So these are the broad objectives, everybody knows about it, so I'm not going into the detail. Basically to produce energy, to use the land, to enhance the productivity, to demonstrate economic viability, because farmer level this model is not much popular, so they should know whether this agri-PV is accepted or not, whether it is economically benefited or not, how this can be developed with different cropping packages. So with all objectives, BIF has developed very detailed proposal project, we can say, in agri-PV system, and that has been implemented in Maharashtra, Karnataka and Telangana, with different models of on-farm, then community with FPO, and some component of research is also added. Also, one of the objective is disseminate knowledge and policy recommendations at the state and national level, because everyone is looking after the results. What are the results from the agri-PV cropping system? What are the energy produced from the system and how it has been used? So these are the basic objective for which we are working from last 1.5 years. So this is the current status of the project. So at BIF level, 17 models with 13 unique structures and 5 different energy uptake applications have been designed at Urli Kanchan, Central Research Station Urli Kanchan, Pune, in Karnataka, and in Telangana, where it is for the Karimnagar Cooperative Dairy. And different applications also serve for the irrigation purpose, production unit, for the institution use as the electricity source, power for village level applications also focused, and power supply to DISCOM. That is the net benefit, where farmers are also looking forward to get the income by selling extra energy and get the additional income from the land. These are the overall portfolio, how we are using this energy, or our plan of using energy in a BIF for institutional use, for climate smart village concept, for community use, some part for DISCOM, some for village applications. So it is not only about the production of energy and selling to the government, but at the same time energy can be produced, utilized for the community processing units, for the village level units, and how it can be optimized to see its benefit from the village level also. So in this way, energy planning is undertaken, and we are following for that. These are the locations where we are having the program. So at Pune, it is 780 kilowatt power. Karimnagar, we are working with the cooperative dairy. So that is altogether different model, where we are working with the community or FPO sort of thing, so that we can test the model for the 250 kilowatt power. And in Karnataka Lakeli campus, it is 200 kilowatt. So these are different demonstrations at the BIF. So you can see 17 different models. Some are inclined, some are elevated, some are vertical, some are floating on the farm pond, some are aligned with the livestock sheds, some are aligned with the poly houses. So all possibilities have been explored, all possibilities have been designed, so that we can get very detailed insights as far as cropping pattern is concerned, as far as energy generation is concerned, and as far as its economic viability is concerned. So efforts are made in these directions, and these systems are designed. Fortunately, all crops have been already developed, and in coming after 2-3 months, we'll get the results after harvesting of all crops, and we can definitely derive the economic viability of all the systems, and also we can have the energy generation potential versus actual, and its efficient measures. So these are all 17 different systems we have installed. These are animated pictures for the audience understanding how a floating PV looks on a farm pond, how is the vertical PV model, where it can take the solar radiations from both the sides. There is no need to cover the crops, shading area can be avoided. Rain cube model, which is under planning phase, then poly house with a flexible PV model, existing poly house, and we are installing on the cattle shed also. So livestock, fishery, so these farming system also included under PV, so that we can PV, so that we can test it and check the economic viability. And these are applications. So battery bank is also developed. So in all the 3 locations, battery backup support is developed to generate electricity, use it at the different modes and locations, and propagate as a green source of energy to the rural community, rural catchment. These are the different crops we are growing under different solar PV system, standard with 1 meter height, 1.5 meter height, then tilted, then standard with 2.1 meter height, some vertical, elevated. So all these models are designed considering the crop conditions, considering the intercultivating operations, considering the tractor to be implemented in between the two rows of the solar panels. So all these things are being considered while designing the crops under the Agri-PV system. So all these crops have been grown, and looking forward for the results for all these crops. For regular working and maintenance and sustenance, we can say we are also planning training and capacity building events continuously for all three locations, for the local use, for the CRPs, for the technicians, so that they can be well aware, well adapted about the technical part of the energy and all the aspects are concerned. So these are anticipated benefits, we can say. So first is availability of crop specific package of practices. So that is most important. So what crops are suitable? So generally it has been discussed that shade loving crops are allowed under Agri-PV. So besides shade loving crop, what other crops can be grown in between the rows, in between interspace, so that also can be tested. Farmer level replicable models, we can definitely select some models which are replicable to the farmers, which farmers can adopt at their level. Then enhanced land productivity at farmer level, so double use of land, which we are discussing from for this session. So how we can get the yield as well as solar energy generation from this system. Energy driven empowerment in the community, so access to the clean energy for not only household consumption, but for the processing part, for the street light, for the other community level applications, so that we can move towards the net zero emission, we can say, from the village level itself. So all the operations also can be supported with the solar energy applications. That is also one of the important part. Climate resilience through diversification of the income. This is also very good activity, so that extra energy can be sold out to the government or discom, and they can get additional income with other crops benefits. And similarly, the most important part of the system is to protect the land, to control the soil erosion, to control the land degradation, because land is almost covered with the solar panels. So in regenerative agriculture, we are always focusing on land should not be open. So if land is covered, we can address the issues of erosion, we can address the issues of evaporation, we can conserve the water. So in that way, the system also plays a very much important role as far as land degradation is concerned, water conservation is concerned, and soil health is concerned. And for all these, definitely capacity building is also one of the anticipated benefits. Strengthening of the farmers, strengthening of the groups, strengthening of the FPOs, those who are looking forward to go for this adoption of this model for the rural catchment. And policy shaping, that is the last ultimate goal. So include this system in the policy level. So that is ultimate plan of this project. So biofield trained learnings will support future agrivoltaic policy framing and subsidy framework. So these are some scaling potential in alignment with the India's target. So I'm not going to read it, but being BIOP being present in the 17 states, this model can be upscaled in different regions, different ecological zones, for different cropping patterns, with different communities. That is the best part, how we can upscale this model in the 17 states and replicate and scaling up this model with a very fast pace because of our presence, our outreach, and our direct connect with the farmers in a diverse agroclimatic regions of the country. Collaboration with the academic institutions, research bodies, and development organizations is already going on. So we are having already tie-up with the Snyder, Siddharth is there, Girasesar is there, IWMI is there. So we are already having the tie-up with all the research and renowned institutes through which we can get a support for research, for learnings and upscaling of this model. And last is BIOF is committed for the disseminating knowledge and sharing best practices and facilitating cross-institutional partnerships. So that is also potential. So these are actual photographs of the site, you can see. So So actual crop is grown now. The beans and vegetables and other cooker beets are we are going to harvesting from the field. So these are actual photographs of the fields from Urali Kanchan, vertical model, slanted model, inclined model. So all the crops are supported with the drip irrigation system, so that we can also quantify the water to be required for the crops, and complete economic package can be derived. So with all application of water and all the technologies. So again, this is a photo of floating panels on the farm pond. So we have developed a big farm pond water body in that form, and floating panels are also established there. So that also can be examined with the fishery, with the water harvested in the farm pond, with the economics of farm pond for agriculture, for a crop production, and aligned with the energy generation, how that model can be effectively utilized, propagated in rain-fed regions of India. So this is all about in very brief and in a nutshell about the BIF experience in Agri-PV is concerned. And for that matter, we are developing a training center, namely BRIC, that is BIF Rural Innovation Center, where we are testing all technologies, not only Agri-PV, but all technologies which are related to the farming community, and that can be a center of excellence for the visitors, for the farmers, for the researchers, for the policymakers, to see, to study, to gauge activities, and develop the work basis on that. So this is all about our experience. So thank you.
I think we'll have a dedicated time for questions at the end of the session. We can have question and session at that time. Now I request Shiv Verma from India Data Program for the keynote on the case of Farmer-centric agrivoltaics.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for being here still for this torturous hour, and for your energy and your patience. But what I want to present is basically some work we are doing with TRI, with Sustain Plus, and the topic I've deliberately put is agrivoltaics tikka masala. And the main message here is that there is an agrivoltaics that's happening in the West, which also has some space in India. But most of what agrivoltaics will do in India will be very different, very specific to our context. And if we really want agrivoltaics to become mainstream among farmers, and 80-85% of our farmers are small farmers, then we will have to try very new models of agrivoltaics, which Europe and US and Australia and Japan, they have not done. But so we'll have to be very open-minded in terms of how we want to scale agrivoltaics. There will be some agrivoltaics which will be the European kind, for lack of a better word, or developer-centric, developer-led, where the main driver of agrivoltaic expansion is that we want to do more renewable energy. We can't find land, so we have to do it on agriculture land without harming agriculture. But there will be one form of agrivoltaics where the main driver will be agriculture, where the main driver will be farmers' livelihoods. And that may be smaller in scale at the individual project level, but the numbers that it can achieve will be huge, and collectively it can be as big, if not bigger, than the larger scale agrivoltaics. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but just to say that in terms of solarization of agriculture, I don't think many of us realize how central what is happening in India is to the global solarization efforts. 1152 megawatt of off-grid solar deployed only for use in agriculture. This is data from IRENA, not our data. And out of that, 1083 megawatt is in India. Another 50 megawatt is in Bangladesh. So South Asia is really central to this solarization of agriculture revolution that is happening around the world. And what is happening in India today will have lessons for Africa, Latin America, and the rest of the global South. Why South Asia is taking a lead is also kind of obvious, because we are the world's largest irrigation economy. We are also the world's largest pumped irrigation economy. No other country in the world pumps as much water for irrigation as we do, and therefore only a small part of that is right now solarized. We have about 1 million solar pumps, but we have 22, 23, some people say 25 to 30 million irrigation pumps. And in theory, all of them can be solarized. So there is huge potential for further expansion. I think we've seen this. Agrivoltaics capacity is increasing, which is a good thing, but increasing the land is becoming a bottleneck, and that will be one of the drivers. But if you look at the amount of land we have available, it's huge. We have 150 million hectares of agricultural land, and even 1% of that can be enough for all the 500 gigawatt that we want to do. But that's not the point. I think land will drive agrivoltaics, but that will not be the only driver for agrivoltaics expansion. This, I think, is going to be the political economy of what happens when renewable energy projects start encroaching on agricultural land and also on common lands. Since we are talking about, we are in a land conference, we know that a lot of the land where renewable energy is expanding has some customary traditional rights on commons, right? And those get entrenched when a solar park is basically fenced off from all other users. So we will have to do solarization even of that kind with a way of thinking, how can we not harm the current practices of communities, and these are usually poor communities who are dependent on the commons. So that will be one of the drivers. Loss of land, yes, but that may be one of the many drivers. Crop loss. Whatever land we are losing, not only to solarization, but also to industrialization, urbanization, that will lead to some crop loss, and we will have to make up either by increasing productivity or finding ways such as this double-decker farming through agrivoltaics. The image of solarization, the examples I showed from the last slide, where solar plants are basically being accused of causing more harm than good. Livelihoods will be the driver, which is what we are trying to focus on, and farmers' prosperity. These two, in my mind, will be the biggest drivers of agrivoltaics, especially farmer-centric agrivoltaics. And of course, one model will not fit our diverse geography and diverse socio-economic context, where the agriculture productivity is also very different, and the socio-economic and the physical context is also very different. Now, these are the four models which I think this is how agrivoltaics is expanding already. One is the larger scale developer-led. The second is the medium scale farm enterprises, such as Girasaji is here, I'm sure he will talk about it. Then one possibility is to try it with FPOs and farmer groups, which is what BIF is also trying. And the fourth possibility is to actually do it at a very small scale with farmers. Now, this is a case where actually theory is following practice. What we found in our field study is that in a place like North Bihar, 40% of the farmers who have installed solar pumps, they don't know what is agrivoltaics. They were never told to do agrivoltaics, but they are doing agrivoltaics on their own because they don't want to lose out on the land, the small amount of land that is lying underneath the 5 kilowatt, 7 kilowatt panels that they are installing. That's what we are calling micro agrivoltaics, and that's already happening without any facilitation. So another way of looking at it is we could see agrivoltaics as mega, meso, mini, and micro. And in another talk, I basically said this could be seen as the different forms of cricket that we have. The conventional purists will say only the mega agrivoltaics is that's the test cricket, the purists, right? But then there is ODI, there is T20, and then there is gully cricket, which is the micro agrivoltaics which farmers are doing on their own without any formal facilitation. These are some glimpses from the pilots that we are already trying in 4 locations. This is a tribal village in Dahod called Junabaria, where a 30 kilowatt lift irrigation scheme was already installed. We have not installed this scheme new, but it was installed on prime agricultural land. and the farmer willingly gave up that land in the interest of the community, because this 30 kilowatt lift irrigation scheme is serving several farmers in the community. But when we told him that there is a possibility that he could actually regain that land by elevating the panels a bit, and then he could still do farming underneath, he was very happy. And that's what we are trying. We've elevated these panels at a small incremental cost, and now there is possibility of doing farming underneath. We've asking the farmer to do the same crops that he's doing outside here, so that we can also see what is happening to the plants which are directly underneath the panels, what is happening to plants which are in the interspace in between two panels, and what is the result in the open field conditions. This is a proposed pilot. We haven't implemented it yet, but we are going to do it with Mujkua in Anand, where a milk cooperative already was planning to do rooftop solar to offset their energy demand. They run a bulk milk chiller which has a high electricity bill, some 30,000 rupees per month, and they wanted to do rooftop solar. But there is also a fodder farm that NDDB is promoting there, which is doing hybrid napier, which is a very tall fodder grass. Now, it's very difficult to do elevated panels on top of hybrid napier. So we are going to try vertical PV, 30 kilowatt, and that energy will then be used to offset what the milk cooperative is using for the bulk milk chiller, and that way their electricity bill will be reduced. This is work we are doing with TRI, and maybe Tej will talk about it also. Microgrids already exist in places like Jharkhand and Eastern UP, and they are already serving a purpose. But they are, whenever a microgrid is installed, there is a fencing done around it, and that land is then basically useless. There is no other use of that land. But what we are trying is, again, retrofitting those microgrids, elevating the panels, and trying to see whether that land can also be used for agriculture, and then try and see what results we get from that. So this is an example from Jharkhand. Similarly, there is a solar lift irrigation scheme, very interesting model. I leave it to Tej to explain more, where we have this checkerboard kind of a design, where actually we feel that maybe this would be even better for doing farming underneath, because there is even more sunshine and there is less area which is shaded throughout the day or throughout the year. So these are some experiments that we are doing. We've heard there are more experiments that BIF is doing, and there are going to be thousands and thousands of these models that are going to emerge organically. And what we need to do is to study them, is to follow them, track their data, and then see which model will be suitable for scaling in which context. And that is the work which we hope that all of us together can do in the coming months and years. 4 key takeaways. I think agrivoltaics will get redefined in India into agrivoltaics tikka masala. Livelihoods will drive adoption more than anything else. One size fit all will not likely to scale, so we'll have to do new business models. And I think that there are exciting times ahead for this subsector, especially in India and the global south. Thank you.
Thank you, Shiv. Now it's time for the panel discussion, and I'll request all of our panelists to please join us on the front. I'll request Gulab Singh Girasini from Grow Solar, Ganesh William from Sustain Plus, Tej Karan from TRI, Siddharth Gahoy from Schneider, and Mahesh Rat from BIF. Starting with Gulab Singh Girasiji. So Girasiji is the director of Grow Solar Energy Private Limited that has set up a 10 megawatt peak DC agrivoltaics plant in 2021. He is the former director of Mahagenco and MSEB Holding Company. Presently, he is also the vice president of Solar Energy Society of India. So Girasiji, starting with you, since you were one of the few to dive early in this theme through megawatt scale project, please share your agrivoltaics journey till now, and how do you see it emerging with the advancement in the technology?
See this, I wanted to do this agrivoltaics because I thought I'm suited for this, being a farmer and then work for agriculture university, work for a power company, and then I had a land around 55 acres. So I wanted to capitalize on my experience and land, and then with help of few friends we could set that up. But let me confess, this is without policy, without subsidy, or without any such thing which would now propel the growth of agrivoltaics. So we had to travel everywhere to China, US, and where we could find the agri PV. And then Panasonic said we have done something in Japan, so we engaged them as EPC, and then they said the budget will go this up by 15-20%. I said no, just fit it into plain vanilla solar. So he says we'll require more land. We said okay, and with some incremental cost we could raise the height but kept the interspace more, and then we could call it agri PV, and that by any definition qualifies as agri PV. So far we have tried 20 crops very successfully. Some failed, some are doing really well. And then our scheme was very clear. The investors were told that we have a lock-in period of 3 to 4 years. They should not be expecting any returns on the equity. Whatever is their annual, that would be capitalized, and from 5th year onwards we'll start paying them the dividends. And how we have achieved, we did plant lots of perennials like lemon trees, karanda trees, and even your moringa. Then some semi-perennials, moringa falls in both. So we did lemongrass, then vetiver and other aromatic and medicinal plants. And then some seasonals like some seed production from seed company and all that. So far with all those constraints, we have been paying all our loan installments, and we have been paying our staff, and the socio-environmental impact of this project is so good that in this 50 acre we produce 10 megawatt peak power. In this 50 acre we employ on an average, annual average, 40 people. And then what we could have been doing on this land otherwise, it was just grazing, and the land was not that good. We constructed everything around the contour, used it with proper shadow analysis, and then today we have every inch of the land properly utilized. Even 100 acres would not have been enough for the crops that we are doing there. And the impact is so good. 8 to 10 villages in the vicinity get daytime power because the project was conceived under the Maharashtra's MSKVY1. Then sort of reverse migration, some 5-10 families came from Surat back, and now they are settled there. Their homes are being built, their daughters getting married. So small little happy moments for all of us there. The plant looks aesthetically so beautiful, blue and green and all that. So there have been some challenges like some thefts, labor problem, vegetation problem. The grid is not that good, but despite all that, we feel happy that we did it. And if we are to do more, we have lots of things already now demonstrated by BIF. So all those unfulfilled wishes are being fulfilled by the BIF model. They have brought in really latest whatever can be done in the agrivoltaics. Thank you.
Okay, so just to follow up on that, are you also monitoring the performance of energy weather? Have you noticed any significant difference in the generation as a part or as an impact of the crops that are being grown underneath for the microclimate that they create?
Yes, definitely. The solar generation, we always keep comparing with one plain vanilla solar in the nearby village, which is just about 20 kilometers from us. So they always say, "अरे तुम्हारा इतना कैसा हो गया? हमारा तो इतना ही हो गया." Actually, the solar capacity is almost the same theirs and ours, but we do get that 2 to 4% difference in the microclimate because ours is always green and cool. and that does affect these things. Microclimate, yes, it helps the better generation. And the crops, they are not affected at all by these solar panels because our selection again is shade loving, partial shade loving, and those who don't require shade. And the interspace is so huge, 9.5 meters. So these lemon and all other lemongrass, etc., they are sun loving, so they don't cast shadow on the panels. The whole planning is such that they get whatever sunlight they want, and then that they create greenery and cooler. And then we have partial shade loving like basil, and below the panels where they get some little sunshine, we have leafy vegetables and that stuff. So vegetation and the plant growth not compromised, yield not compromised, and the solar yield is boosted.
Seems interesting. As you rightly mentioned, Girasaji, that you represent three different entities: a farmer by birth, a retired official from the power generation company, and currently a developer. So, I think you will be one of the most liable person to answer this question. If I may ask, we know that there are different business models that can be possible with varying degree of freedom for developers, government, and the farmers, and on the basis of ownership. What, according to you, from the Indian context, will be more likely to scale when we talk about agrivoltaics?
Shilpa's already answered that. So it's really, honestly, it's not one size fits all. But if you ask me the economies of scale and the way it should yield maximum in terms of the ROI, but I don't value ROI so much. I generally calculate because heavily inclined towards these types of stuff where we are sitting and discussing. I always calculate the EIR. I happen to work in my earlier assignment in the World Bank, KfW, and ADB projects, where we would always calculate what's the economic returns on the project. So when I calculate this, because of course you need to repay the loan, you need to pay the salaries, that happens, that being taken care. What are other social and environmental benefits that we are having? So our EIR of this project is close to 24, whereas our IRR is just okay to repay the loans, but that would also improve.
Thanks a lot, Girasaji. Coming to Ganesh sir. So Ganesh Neelam is the CEO of Sustain Plus Energy Foundation, which focuses on scaled action towards integrating decentralized renewable energy for strengthening livelihoods of underserved and unserved communities. So Ganesh, as you are leading in one of the India's largest dairy programs, and as far as whatever you have heard till now, how do you see agrivoltaics fitting to the Sustain Plus plants? Do you think that farmers or the community will be really looking up to go with the agrivoltaics?
So early days for us because again we are also piloting and experimenting in this space, and we are also in a way trying to learn from the larger ecosystem on the various pilots that are happening. The group sitting here and maybe outside as well who are trying to work in this space. See, for us the renewable energy plays a role of an enabler into the livelihoods that the community depends on. Be it agriculture, be it livestock or any other livelihoods that they are dependent on. And we as a team are regularly trying to experiment new ideas, new approaches wherein community ownership is more. Rather than only saying that there is a technology and we go and install a technology, how do we enable the community to have more ownership on the technologies that are getting installed, which also has helped us to understand that the community adoption when they are owning it is much stronger, much faster, and then the long-term reliability of the technology also becomes very prominent with that particular approach. We are seeing that into smaller systems like the 5 kilowatt or the 7.5 kilowatt system, wherein community ownership is very, very strong. And now we are saying if we are able to establish those pilots or experiments at a certain scale with group level solar irrigation system, can we expand that to a larger system which is mainly linked to agrivoltaics. So And that's the experiment that we did with you guys in Dahod to see if a 30 kilowatt or a 50 kilowatt or a 100 kilowatts. I am at this moment not talking about 500 kilowatts or a 1 megawatt system, but these multiples of 50 or 100 kilowatt systems, can they be taken up by the groups? Can they be anchored by the groups? And that group is also able to do some agriculture beneath that particular ecosystem. With that approach, we are basically saying that there is a good scope across geographies that we are working on, and we should keep on experimenting to see how we can further take it to a next level. That's the approach at Sustainable that we want to work out and take it ahead.
So, as you said that you are working with different community on small scale, and the scale is varying basically from small to some medium scale. And in those DRE applications that you are currently exploring with the communities, so there will be multiple use cases of energy, as BIF has also represented in their presentation. Some of them will be off-grid, some of them will be sent to grid or something like that. So, considering that aspect, the energy utilization, when we talk about agrivoltaics, what's actually happening is the energy, the larger portion of the income is coming from energy as compared to the agriculture. Now, but this is also a critical question that we are exploring as of now. When we talk about the income from energy and agriculture in the agrivoltaics plant, that ratio from the agriculture, from the income from the agriculture is nearly revolves around 1 to 2% of what we are getting from the energy. So, do you think this equation can, I think, will the farmers, why will the farmers invest with this particular equation when they are ready to put around 10 to 30% additional cost to set up an agrivoltaics plant as compared to the ground mounted, when those additional 10 to 30% cost that they are putting is only giving them 1 to 2% in return. So this equation is somewhere not matching actually, and that is also one of the major hurdle or challenge as far as scaling of agrivoltaics is concerned. So what are your views on this?
See, I think for all of us, it is very, very important to understand that expecting farmers to pay, say, 30-40% is going to be very, very difficult. Even in small systems, you're not seeing that happening at a scale. That challenge continues to be there. But what my understanding is, if we have, say, a 50 or a 100 kilowatt agrovoltaic system, that is only one part of the larger land parcels that the community is depending on. Now that system is able to, say, help irrigation to another 100 or 200 acres. So just taking land beneath that particular agrovoltaic and saying the income is hardly 1 or 2% may not make sense. How is the larger agricultural land parcel enabling them to look at that income would be very, very important. And in that case, I would say it is much more than the energy output that it is giving. And the second thought process that we are trying to emphasize is, can the community look at most of the energy needs coming from this particular system? First prioritize that, and then maybe look at the last priority of giving it back to the grid. At least in certain geographies, some places wherein grid is better, the connection to the grid is better, the grid is able to pay a very good unit price, then it makes sense. Otherwise, it does not make sense. So how do we look at the other livelihood requirements in the community? So mapping those, bringing the community on board to understand that would be playing a major, major role, is what I feel.
It makes very more sense, sir. So as you are saying that community models will make much more sense when we look at this energy agriculture income ratio. Thank you very much. Coming to Tej from TRI. So Tej Karan is a senior practitioner and specialist climate action on TRIF at TRIF, and currently leads agrivoltaics and microgrid initiatives within the organization. He is instrumental in designing cooperative and community managed models that suits the needs of smallholder farmers, including women farmer, and strategies to unlocking public finance for these initiatives. So Tej, we understand that you are doing some interventions around agrivoltaics with Oak Foundations. Can you elaborate a bit on what are the models that you are particularly deploying and what are your future plans regarding those interventions?
So we started with the awareness workshops. So how we came into agrivoltaics is we wanted to understand कि PM Kusum A का जो बड़ा larger portion है, how that is going to pan out within India और क्या farmers difficulties currently face कर रहे हैं. So we were in a collaboration with GIZ and ASCI, Agriculture Skill Council of India, to do this 15 workshops across 7 states where we work. So that is how we understood the actual challenges of large uptake, because 0.5 to 2 megawatt is bit difficult for farmers. Even you have a FPU model, that is also difficult. So then we switched ki can we develop smaller projects which are of less size. So that is how our interventions in agrivoltaics started. If you see, we have been doing many microgrids in offbeat locations where they are not even connected with any state supplied grid, or they don't have power supply, like villages in Simdega, villages in Nepal border in UP, Mihinpurwa, and Simdega. So traditionally these communities have been cut off from any electricity since independence. So we try, so if you see 0.3% of India's household are still not have any electricity connection. So if you see, that comes out to be 25 million households. So if you, so that is where it clicked us that why not we use these 85 microgrids we have. Is there a possibility to convert them into agrivoltaics? Because whenever we talk with the person who has given land for these small grids, even though they are very smaller in size, mostly faring between 15 to 24, 30 kilowatt, not more than that in Simdega. So farmers complain is कि क्या इसके नीचे क्या कर सकते हैं, इसके नीचे और क्या कर सकते हैं, और फेंसिंग कर दिया है तो किसी को जाने के लिए भी अलाउ नहीं करते हैं, क्योंकि everyone's energy is dependent on this plant. So if anything happens to that, the entire village will. So that is how we started developing this model कि पहला कि ऑलरेडी हमारे जो माइक्रोग्रिड से हाउसहोल्ड इलेक्ट्रिसिटी सप्लाई हो रही है, क्या उनको हम एग्रीवोल्टेक्स में कन्वर्ट करके देख सकते हैं. एंड देयर इज इनफ अपॉर्चुनिटी बिकॉज देयर आर सो मेनी माइक्रोग्रिड्स इन इंडिया दैट हैव द पोटेंशियल. लार्जर स्केल में भी यू कैन डू दैट. सो फर्स्ट इज दैट. ओक के साथ जो स्पेसिफिक पार्टनरशिप है उसमें वी वर टास्क्ड विद डेवलपिंग डिफरेंट मॉडल्स. तो द करंट मॉडल एक तो ये हो गया कि ऑलरेडी माइक्रोग्रिड्स को कैसे आप एग्रीवोल्टाइक्स में कर सकते हो. सेकंड, इन द नेपाल बॉर्डरिंग एरियाज यू सी मोस्ट ऑफ द इरिगेशन इज डीजल बेस्ड. देयर इज नो ग्रिड सप्लाइड, क्योंकि जंगल के उस पार है, बॉर्डर के नज़दीक वाले ये विलेजेस हैं, क्लस्टर है, जो आप लखीमपुर खेरी में भी देखोगे और बहराइच जिले में भी देखोगे. सो व्हाट कैन बी डन फॉर दीज विलेजेस. सो देन वी स्टार्टेड कि इनको डीकार्बोनाइज भी करेंगे और हम लोग इरिगेशन भी देंगे इनको with the help of agrivoltaics. So we started developing this model where we always do community managed microgrid, where we create a group, larger group, which is called Village Energy Committee, and then the committee is responsible for all the decisions that that are taken in that village with regard to energy. We don't impose anything, we leave it to the community. We do social engineering just to nudge and tweak so that it runs for a longer duration of time, project का viability. So the current project that we are developing is more of a cooperative where you have water user association. 10 बोरवेल है. So 10 बोरवेल के हर बोरवेल पे 15 मेंबर हैं. एक मेंबर VEC का, विलेज एनर्जी कमेटी का मेंबर है. So that is how you have almost 110 acres का irrigation facility, and the plant size is 44.4 kilowatt. The checkered arrangement which she'll just show. So that is a very innovative model, and उनका cost जो per hour irrigation cost, if you see, it's 200 to 220 rupees per hour cost है वहाँ पर, जहाँ पर traditionally grid supplied electricity नहीं है, सब कुछ diesel based है. It drastically shoots down to 50-40 rupees per hour. with तो ये significant delta directly उनके pocket में जा रहा है. So this is one of the model. Another model we are trying is OSR. क्या पंचायत के लिए OSR, own source revenue. So we see politically backing भी हो रही है इस particular concept की पंचायत का OSR बढ़ाओ, पंचायत का OSR. Panchayats are not making enough revenues to meet their own. So we are also looking up UP government के साथ में. So we have a mandate of setting 50 agrivoltaics plant in UP from the chief secretary. So we are trying to see कि बुंदेलखंड region के लिए OSR model में हम लोग कुछ कर सकते हैं क्या. So we are also trying कि पंचायत के लैंड पे पंचायत को भी रेंटल रेवेन्यू आए, या फिर SHG दीदी और पंचायत जॉइंटली मिलके कुछ लगाएं, एंड देन दैट रीप्स बेनिफिट फॉर अ लॉन्गर टर्म फॉर पंचायत. सो वी आर ऑल्सो ट्राइंग टू सी एक OSR मॉडल विच विल बी कमिंग अप इन नेक्स्ट 3 to 4 months में कि ये कैसे हो सकता है. एंड लार्जली वी फोकस ऑन कैसे SHG और CLFs को इनेबल कर सकते हैं इस पूरे इकोसिस्टम को चलाने के लिए. So that is our larger aim. So not only empowering the community through VCs, but also empowering women so that they can form their own energy associations and can lead these small agrivoltaic initiatives. So that is how our partnership with Oak is currently going.
Okay, so basically you are working for providing different solutions, energy related solutions, whether it is powering the electricity or supplying electricity to villages which are not connected to grid, or powering irrigation and all.
Correct.
With keeping in mind the community's interest and upliftment. So the current governance of business models that you are currently doing with the microgrids, do you think that they will adapt to agrivoltaics projects as well?
So for me personally, I feel that there needs to be some delta that should be, because these are all capital intensive, and the structure itself, the raising the structure itself, आप देखोगे तो 20 to 25% cost of the entire project is structure only. That also is I feel कि farmers अगर ले रहे हैं तो वो भी उनके लिए मुश्किल है. So what I bet on is कि cooperative models with little support from, जैसे PM कुसुम में अगर VGF फंडिंग दे रहे हैं, मान लो PM कुसुम C वाले में हम लोग को मिलती है, उसके बाद में बहुत बड़ा सब्सिडी कंपोनेंट है PM कुसुम B में, तो इस तरीके का कुछ सब्सिडी छोटा, नॉट वेरी लार्ज, बट अगर इस तरीके का कुछ देंगे तो कोऑपरेटिव मॉडल्स कुड सक्सीड, जिसमें FPOs भी कर सकते हैं. एंड आई फील कि जो नीड के साथ जो मिसमैच है ना, उसको अलाइन करना ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है रादर देन जस्ट पुटिंग द प्लांट. क्योंकि अगर आपकी नीड ही नहीं है, फॉर एग्जांपल द विलेज दैट वी आर डूइंग पायलट, वी नो कि ये इरिगेशन पर्पस के लिए है, लेकिन जब लीन आवर्स होंगे तो क्या होगा उसका, तो लीन आवर्स में भी ये प्लांट तो पावर जनरेट करेगा. सो वी आर ऑल्सो थिंकिंग कि कैन साइड बाय साइड उनके इकोनॉमिक प्रॉस्पेरिटी के लिए कैन वी ऐड सम, हाँ, DRE सोल्यूशंस के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से मिल्क चिलर डाल सकते हैं, या फिर मेंथा का प्रोसेसिंग के लिए डाल सकते हैं, हल्दी प्रोसेसिंग के लिए कुछ डाल सकते हैं, उनको पिसाई के लिए भी जाना पड़ता है नेपाल, तो कैन वी लुक इनटू सब. और रूरल मोबिलिटी का भी एक इसमें एंगल हम लोग डाल रहे हैं कि चूँकि ये एकदम दूर सुदूर गांव के अंदर में है, तो क्या हम लोग रूरल मोबिलिटी का एक्सपेरिमेंटल बेसिस पे देखना चाहते हैं कि वेदर दिस वर्क्स आउट. बट as far as I am, my personal thing is, unless and until you slightly incentivize these things, whether in किस भी तरीके से आप कर सकते हो, इंटरेस्ट के कंपोनेंट से कर सकते हो, या डायरेक्ट कैपिटल सब्सिडी के फॉर्म में कर सकते हो, या प्रॉपर स्कीम के फॉर्म में कर सकते हो, अपटेक थोड़ा सा मुश्किल होगा बिकॉज दीज आर वेरी कैपिटल इंटेंसिव.
Yeah, that is also a concept that we all are discussing since long, but hopefully we'll have something in 2026, a dedicated component on agrivoltaics and PM Kusum. Let's see. Hope for the best. Thanks, Tej. Coming to Siddharth. So Siddharth Gahoy is a distinguished climate technology specialist currently serving as a Deputy General Manager Access to Energy at Schneider Electric, where his work centers on enabling clean energy entrepreneurship and tackling energy poverty through innovative network development and impactful sustainability initiatives. So Siddharth, we know that Schneider is operating a clean energy entrepreneur program. So how do you see the Schneider's clean energy entrepreneurs program can help build local ecosystem for the site-specific design and its maintenance, considering the deployment of agrivoltaics in the near future? Referring to Schneider's technical inputs in some of the interventions with the BIOF, as Vaman already mentioned. So can you throw some light on that?
Thanks. So I think first of all, just to give a background, the Clean Energy Entrepreneur Network that we are creating, the idea is that you have more in-house, and not in-house, but more local people who are technically trained and can design solutions based on the local need. How we are doing it, we are across India as a part of our overall company approach from 2009 onwards. We have trained more than 4 lakh youths in the space of solar and electrical. Now many of those wanted to start their own, and that's what the entrepreneurship programs comes into picture, where we not just train them the technical, we also train them the different aspects, finance management. We train them how to interact, how to design solutions, how to I'll say look for new innovations, and what Schneider as the organization supports them in taking some of their I'll say stress away in technical terms. Very complex project like AgriBees, which is new. You can't go in the market and ask for a structure for AgriBees. We don't know who is going to manufacture it, whether it's going to stand the MNRE prescriptions or not. So that's the team comes in, and definitely in case of agri-PV as such, they know solar, but they don't know agri. So that we need to add on. We need to tell them that you need to understand, like the way the solar pumps comes into picture initially. They'll understand, okay, the water drawdowns, the lift, the delta height and everything, the friction loss, how do you calculate? Similar thing we have to also do for the agri. They'll understand, okay, how the crop will behave. When you take it out, how long the roots will go. How do you manage the path of the wiring so that the tractor will not damage it, or the plying operation will not damage it. So apart from the solar or electrical knowledge, we need to also add this into a part. So right now it's because we are also experimenting, so I don't have full-fledged guideline, but definitely with the entrepreneurs that we have done, the input from the BIF team and our prior experiences, we have designed this. And the idea is that we'll scale it up, because as Philip was also saying, when we do it from global to local, we need also that workforce who will take this ahead, design more customized solutions, and at the same time provide repair and maintenance. Because I'm assuming more the movement near the structure, it may also have more, operation maintenance requirement. It might be small, but it's still required. So you need to have, low cost or easy accessible ecosystem who can manage that.
So yeah, agree, Siddharth. As Agrivoltaics will be it is a developing sector and will be comparatively newer, then a skilled manforce will be required in that, and that is how Schneider is currently planning on that. From the energy management perspective, Siddharth, there is a problem, I think, from both the ways. If we talk about the grid connected systems, the lower tariffs are currently the concern. Even in case of normal ground mounted PV, here we are talking about agrivoltaics with some additional investment. So those lower tariffs are a concern from the policy landscape in case of grid connected systems. And when we talk about the off grid systems, the unutilized energy is a problem, right? So as Tej is mentioning that the system will be generating throughout the year, but the utilization will not be there. Then in that case, what are your views on ways of locally utilizing the energy which is getting generated either through grid connected or off-grid systems through the climate smart village or agri-processing centers?
Okay. I think most of the panelists have shared about it, that better to use the energy at the local level so that it
That
will
is the
add
best
more,
use case.
more add value. What we as Schneider has developed something called a climate smart village concept, where the idea is that you will have the system designed so that you can use it based on the context. So let's say there's a kharif crop and you need more paddy thresher or rice huller at this point, and in the next season you might require something else. You might require an oil processing machine, right, to process mustard oil or some other crop which is happening. The system should be flexible enough to cater these periodic needs, and that's what the climate smart village does. At the same time, it has an option to either store the energy for using in case of very off-grid geographies for lighting purpose, for safety, street lighting, or you can also export it. But and as I think the irrigation pumps can also be connected up to a distance, and you can also use that energy. So based on the requirement, when you are irrigating, there might be no crop to process. But when there is no irrigation, the crop is ready to harvest and process, you can use the complete energy there. And we have tried also, tried it with multiple things. I think more than 10 to 12 different use case application, from irrigation pumping to dehusking to even all the way to as a complete agri-processing center where you can process it, you can check it, you can package it. All these things can happen in under one roof. So that way you can, I think, use energy and get maximum benefit out of it by doing this value addition activity.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. So that is basically the smart management of energy utilization, and that will again come as a part of agrivoltaics at a later stage. But that is certainly going to come. I believe.
Just want to add one more thing. We have developed a technology where if you have, I think in future, let's say 3 or 4 separate pumps, right? Because it happens sometimes of one pump will come and then second pump will come and third pump will come. The technology is that you can bring all the energy in one central location and then you can use it. At the same time, if one system is off, it can redistribute the power to another system. So So then the pumps, let's say at evening, will not be running at 50% capacity. One pump will fall, all the energy comes to the other pump, and it can run at the 100% capacity.
So those kind of solutions certainly is required in merger technologies. Thank you, Siddharth. Coming to Mahesh, Mahesh leads renewable energy initiatives with a focus on distributed renewable energy applications at BIF. His work includes developing advanced biogas systems for clean cooking, solar powered solutions for water pumping, and rural livelihoods, and agrivoltaics models that combine solar energy generation with crop production to enhance farm productivity and income. So Mahesh, Vamanji already shared a lot of models, the details about the models, different models that BIF is already trying. It is highly motivational to see that a particular single organization is trying on so many different models. But when we talk about the mainstreaming or scaling farmer-centric agrivoltaics in India, considering the number of small and marginal farmers, what, based on your experiences till now, do you think will be having much or will be making much more sense considering this particular segment of the society?
So basically, already shared by all the panelists, like, so there are, like, we have developed various models for the energy uptake and for the agrivoltaic also, the solar structures we can say. So the basic model, which is like generate local and use local, which is like energy utilization for local purpose, is like most suitable model for the small and marginal farmers, like, because they have various demand and various needs of their own. So, and they face a lot of challenges getting energy from grid. So it may be a power failure, it may be a voltage fluctuations or a voltage drop. So because of that, there are several challenges during the operations. So it is always better to have local energy generation and uptake of that energy locally. So that's why we demonstrated various local energy generation and uptake models also. In our campus, we demonstrated the electric tractor, so from 15 HP to 60 HP capacity. So it can be charged within 45 minutes and can operate for next 4.5 hours or 5 hours locally. So it promotes local entrepreneurship also. We also promoted the processing enterprises, like various processing enterprises, and we are also in process, like thinking, promoting various processing enterprises. Like in Karnataka, we are in discussion with Snyder to promote coconut oil extraction units, so that we can have local relevance of the energy. And in case of like, if you are asking for the structure, like which structure is more suitable for the farmers, so we have implemented 17 various structures. So technically, we can say all the structures are suitable for all kind of like farmers, but dependence on crop, like which crop you want to cultivate. Yeah, but again, like with our experience, we can say like the most suitable structure is like which was recommended by Girasesar to BIF, and which is like having height of 2.1 meter and pitch of 9.5 meter. So which is technically easiest structure we can say, and most like more economic viability comes with that structure till date. But we are still in the process, so we cannot say that is the only solution.
So basically the inter-row spacing model of agrivoltaics, where we utilize the space between the two consecutive rows for the maximum utilization. Okay, makes sense. Mahesh, we know that we are talking about scaling and mainstreaming agrivoltaics in India, how it is going to uptake and all. But it is not only about the intent of farmers and farmer organizations which will drive this particular thing. So there are a lot of things like policies, regulations and all. But what I see particularly is the role of implementing organizations like BIF becomes much more important. So what do you think, how the implementing organizations like as you are representing BIF and others will have to scale this particular technology in India?
Yeah, so basically this is very important question. Basically organizations like BIF and other like we do have direct connect with the farmer, so that we can say one kind of relation with the farmer, formal or informal, and farmer believe in us, like, and that's why we know their pain points. So that's why we can develop solutions which can solve their pain points, which can be like a representation of the farmers like from that area. So that's why we can become an act like a bridge between the policymakers or the finance, like the investors and the farmer. So we can act like the bridge. Where the policies can be framed considering the farmer. So when we call agrivoltaics, so the core parties are like farmer. So we cannot sideline the farmer and develop the policies which are benefiting the investors or other stakeholders, but we have to develop the policies considering the farmer at core of the system. So like BIOP is already having presence in 18 states in India, and we know different agroclimatic zones and different socio-economics of the farmers and farming community. So like BIOP-like organization and all the organizations which are present over here, so they can be like front face of the farmer, taking farmer pain points to the policy makers and convincing the finance, like who are making the finance. So convincing them to finance in these sectors so that they can get like win-win situation for the investors also and farmers also.
Yeah, so basically bridging between the farmers and the policymakers.
Policy.
That will be the most important role organizations like BIOP will be playing. Okay, thanks a lot, Mahesh. I especially want to acknowledge one thing that BIOP is already doing. As far as the definition of agrivoltaics is not certain in India, it's not fixed yet. But there is a debate going on whether we should only consider agrivoltaics where photosynthesis is happening, or should we include the like sectors like dairy, fisheries, and still the uncertainty is there, and BIOP is already trying those models as well. So that can also make huge impact as far as Indian's perspective is concerned. So that's really grateful to listen, Mahesh. Okay, that's it.
So one thing I would like to add, like when we consider fishery, so we are trying very small scale floating panels, so which can be installed in the farm pond, which like in Maharashtra government there was a scheme. So most of the farmers, they got farm ponds through that scheme, and now same farmer, they are applying for the solar pumps. So instead of installing the solar pumps on the ground, they can be installed in the farm ponds so that the efficiency can be improved and land can be like conserved. So same land can be utilized for the water harvesting and the harvesting.
Any questions?
Yeah, I want to know, Kusum is there right now, and if you look at the full form of Kusum, it is Kisan, Puja, how agrivoltaics is different, and if they have not so far started looking at agrivoltaics being a part of Kusum or an extension of Kusum. So in my opinion, we have to look at the Kusum and then give them an addendum, or we have to give them something which should become a part and parcel of that. What is being done in agrivoltaics is essentially using an agricultural farm for putting up photovoltaic. It's a rooftop. It's an agri farm top. You've got an rooftop, ground top, which is there on the farm. These are the two same kind of a thing. In my opinion, the narrative has to be properly put up to the government. So if they are giving any support for rooftop, similar the benefit has to be available for the the solar installations. This is something that is very easy. It's a question of building up a proper case. And I guess ILDC and all of us should put that up together. That this is the way to go forward. Because of the fact that if you have to put up 5 lakh megawatts, or we are talking about putting up something like the 500 gigawatts, we are talking about putting that kind of a capacity, and 2 hectares is required. We will be probably requiring 10 lakh hectares. There is an estimate that if that we have to go for this kind of a renewable drive, then almost 5% of the total land mass of India will be needed. This is something which has to be challenged, and it can be challenged. Now, just now looking at another thing we figured, and that is what I was telling you that we have to count. Per hectare output of wheat is 2.5 to 3 tons. I agree that there will be a drop of 20% of crop. 20% drop in 3 tons, or 2.5 tons will be how much? You know very well it will be 500 kilos. 500 kilos at even 30 rupees. I don't know what is the MSP now. That means the farmer will lose 15,000. But that is a gross loss that you're looking at, gross the amount, but that has to be reduced to the extent of inputs and other things. So maybe he is losing an income of 5,000 rupees. Now when you are putting, say on a farm which is of 1 hectare, you can put up 500 kilowatts, but let's assume that we put only 200 kilowatts. Each kilowatt is giving you 5 units of power a day, or maybe say 3 units of power. Now this is something which we have to look at, and then say you do the math. So complete energy economics. To be very frank with you, we are looking at the different components. I suggest that we work out a complete economics of this particular system. That's the first submission. Second submission of mine is that we are looking at energy per se. And it is the energy which is changing the rural obviously livelihood and the processing and all that. Why should we not look at combining a very simple source of energy, which is the biogas? In biogas to power, solar power, put the two of them together, you can very easily make by microgrid 50 kW, 100 kW, 200 kW. I mean, there are many places. You got maybe Panjra poles, and you got the Gaushalas. You think about all of them, and they all can possibly become the hub for rural livelihood, rural enterprises. So it's a much bigger picture than maybe putting it on the farm. I'm telling you, we will attain energy independence in the villages by by harnessing these two things together. We may not have wind everywhere, but we have got biogas, because we have got animals, we have got today we have got all kinds of biomass which can be converted to biogas. So that itself can become another source of energy, and that is something which is going to be providing you an alternative to battery. So you have got three things now. You have got solar, you have got biogas, and then thirdly you have now got battery energy storage system. Three of them together can make each and every area energy independent at a lower cost than you are buying the power from. And this economics, I would suggest, should be worked out. I can help in that because you are delighted to know that my passion for solar pumping, which was done for the first time, it was in Dhundi, and Children is aware. And my son had actually carried out that installation, because he also was in solar business, but it was essentially due to some kind of a push that we had given the government of Gujarat at that point of time, that solar pumping is going to be ideal. When you have got sun, you require pumping. Why do you want to use diesel, or why do you want to use electricity? You use the solar, because when there is sun, there is solar, there is the power, and we require water at that very point of time. So it's a perfect सोने में सुहागा जैसी चीज है. सोलर पंपिंग जो है सोने में सुहागा है. But the problem was that जब जरूरत नहीं होती तो क्या होता है, तो तुषार भाई ने कहा कि जो पानी लोग ड्रॉ करते रहेंगे, and that is that study that was done by IWM and later, that ये सोलर पंप लगाने से नुकसान ज्यादा हो जाता है, फायदा कम होता है. Then came the question, जो surplus power आपका जो पैदा होता है, that should be fed to the grid. That led to the sky scheme, and that finally transformed and culminated into the Kusum scheme, wherein you got all options. आप ऑफ ग्रिड रखना चाहिए, ऑफ ग्रिड रखिए, आपको जो कनेक्टेड करना कनेक्टेड कीजिए. सो वी नीड टू सी द ऑप्शंस दैट आर अवेलेबल टू अस. One size will not fit all. We will work out the different models, and then we'll take it forward. And I'll be very glad to do help with this, because I know the biogas space very well. I know the solar space, and I know the overall energy space reasonably well due to my corporate background earlier. So I'll stop at that.
So very much agree to you, sir. Reliance is also planning something like that, blending agrivoltaics with biogas.
We don't talk about very big corporates. We are talking about.
But they are also planning on the similar concept in a very large scale.
But I think we can do it much better than them, and we can do it in a manner that will be holistic and that will be inclusive. We don't want to kind of give all maybe our waste to them. We don't want to give all our maybe all the authority for giving us maybe the power. That is the corporatization of the complete thing, and that obviously has got its own implications. In ILDC, I think we will try to be inclusive, and we will try to see how we can help bottom of the pyramid.
Yes, ma'am.
Just wanted to know from the panel on the agrivoltaics and soil health nexus. Any learnings?
I must tell you, in fact, I wanted to tell you. I have some photographs before our project was actually done. And I had been seeing this land since my childhood. This was the two farms, one was Dabri and the other one was Khadki. Khadki was rocky and Dabri was all the water used to come and have waterlogged area like. Now these were very unproductive farms. Some little land used to be cultivated, but it was mainly for grazing, etc. When we planned this, first year, believe it was most of it was sheep grazing, controlled sheep grazing, because I was mindful of what is going to happen. Had consulted some scientists, and then slowly we started planting the trees, planting some perennials and semi-perennials, and now after 4.5 years, the land has regenerated rather, and whatever used to be crop residue or whatever biomass we would generate, we'll compost it. We have vermicompost pits. We also do some little biochar. We mix it with that, and then the mulching, we don't use plastic. We use the lemongrass residue after distillation. We put it, and the overall impact has been the soil has regenerated.
Thank you. More question? Thank you. I will request Vamanji to please sum up the session.
So, thank you. We got a very extreme brilliant panel for this session. So, thank you all panelists, Nikunj and Shilp, for this brilliant session. And especially, I can summarize the session with different aspects from the panel members. So, first, Girase sir focused upon the advancement of technology is very much necessary, and they talked about the journey of agri-PV from zero to this stage. They explained all the challenges also. That is very much essential to us to go for the next path. Also, they focused on the socio-economic environment impact of the project. So they described the impact as very, very good. And because of that project, there is an employment generation to the 40 people, nearby people. So in short, this project seems to be very good as far as its impact is concerned, economic returns are concerned. So they explain the concept of economic returns versus IIR. So and overall microclimate development through this project is quite visible. And because of all these, people are getting job, there is reverse migration, and daytime power is available to 8-9 villages. So in nutshell, we got very clear insight of the project, starting from the installation with the challenges and with the impact and its economic return. So they talked about it, which is very much useful. Ganeshji, especially focusing on the learning from the larger ecosystem is essential. They focused upon that part, and community ownership and adoption is most important. So they stressed upon the importance of community ownership and developing a small system, 30 kilowatt, 50 kilowatt, and converting small lift irrigation into agri-PV would be the next model we can thought of in development stage. So they talked upon that, and mapping other livelihood activities also important. So not only we can focus on the energy part, but irrigation and the income enhancement through all these lift irrigation schemes, and converting that small lift irrigation schemes into agri-PV could be the next step as a looking forward. So this model also they stressed upon. Siddharth gave more emphasis on the capacity building, training, and development of new technologies. So till date they have trained more than 4 lakh people, and their major focus is availability of trained manpower, because solar pumps, agri-PV systems, it may increase. So there is a need of trained manpower to look after the repair, maintenance, and execution part. So for that matter, they have given the importance of the training and all aspects. So they have talked about the climate smart village model, where energy is generated and is used from irrigation to the processing. So all sort of energy application they focused upon, and they have developed some smart management and new technology of energy management also, which is quite useful for the audience as a new pathway of development. Mahesh talked about the local model, local community model, need of development of local model, which is suitable for small and marginal farmers. And local entrepreneurship is very much important. Farmer-centric solutions could be the key for scaling up, and farmer-centric policy development is essential and required. So overall focus of this Mahesh talk is developing different models which are farmer-centric and which are useful for the policy framing. Tej focus upon the awareness workshop, majorly the need of awareness and capacity building. Also, they focused upon the small grid system, importance of small grid system in developing agri PV. So, first we need to understand the need of the community. So, first need is the energy or electric supply. Then we need to focus on that part, and then we can move forward. So, microgrid conversion to agri PV have the immense potential. They focused upon that. Then they also emphasized on the community managed microgrid projects is the next step we should look forward to develop. Then they also talked about the own source revenue model, OSR, in UP. So panchayat lands can be taken and they can be developed with the solar panels and energies, and how that fund can be available to the Gram Panchayat as a own source revenue. So that is also new area where we can talk about, and Panchayat can develop their own source. And lastly, they give stress upon the involvement of SAG and cluster level committees in the energy association model. So in totality, all the panelists have focused upon the adoption of local technology, local model, small farmers involvement. Secondly, they focused upon the collective decision making, involvement of SAGs and committees, and not all models are suitable for everywhere. So region specific models is to be developed. Yes, need assessment should be undertaken very clearly, and we can also shift from lift irrigation to agri PV. That could be the other models along with the own source revenue development. So in totality, we got very good insight as far as agri PV is concerned, its expansion is concerned, challenges are concerned, and even some new opportunities are concerned. So I'm very much thankful to all panelists and all audience for your cooperation.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
for
you
the
very much.
participants to stay.
Thank you, everybody. आइए शेर
सिद्धार्थ को बेचारे को जल्दी आ This is 9:30.
9:30.
Who's taking? But photographing me.
Could you please call the camera?
Or we can take from this one also. You want the light? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. See you.
You want to join me or you want to come late?